What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTB Ravens Media, bringing you Ravens content every single day. If you want to see that daily Ravens content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below and turn on notifications if you want to get notified when I upload new videos. And as always, in this video, whatever I talk about, I love to hear the thoughts and opinions of other Ravens fans because, these are opinions. These are not, actual factual, as some may say. So if you have a different idea from what I say, let me know. I love to talk with the comments with different thoughts and opinions about what the Ravens should do. So what I'm going to be talking about in this video is Shaq Barrett possibly coming to the Ravens, why it could potentially happen, why the Ravens should do it, why the Ravens should not do it, all those types of things. So let me know down in the comments your thoughts on Shaq Barrett coming to the Ravens. Now, why Shaq Barrett? It's because Shaq Barrett was not tagged at the deadline, which was today, happened about 20 minutes ago, was the deadline. And so he wasn't tagged. The Buccaneers tagged Chris Godwin. The Bears actually tagged Allen Robinson, which may anger a lot of Ravens fans because they wanted, Allen Robinson or they wanted Chris Godwin. But by those players being tagged, it increased the value of the other wide receivers. Players like Kenny Golladay, players like Corey Davis, players like Marvin Jones, their value went up. Also Juju Smith-Schuster, their value went up. And why I think that's a good thing is because I don't want the Ravens to go after a free agent wide receiver. I'd much rather have them address it in the draft, or maybe possibly trading for somebody later down the line, maybe mid-season. So I want them to spend money on edge rusher. And the most pricey edge rusher, or most expected pricey edge rusher, is by far Shaq Barrett. He's projected by Spot Track. His market value is around $19.7 million. And why I want Shaq Barrett is because two things. One, he's shown he can do it on his own. And two, he's shown he can do it in the biggest moments. Starting off talking about doing it on his own, he played in Denver for most of his career to start his career. And I would compare him to a Chandler Jones type of player, a player that played in a system where they weren't able to shine whatsoever. I mean, he was stuck behind other players back in Denver. And then he goes to Tampa Bay. Chandler Jones went out and goes to Arizona. Boom, he flourishes. Then Shaq Barrett goes to Tampa Bay. Boom, 19 and a half sacks, led the league. Then he comes back the next year and Tampa Bay added some pieces. They didn't need Shaq Barrett to be the sole force on defense. They had JPP, they had Ndamukong Suh, they had a bunch of players that they could rely on. But in the biggest, most crunch time moments in the NFL last season, Shaq Barrett was the one that stepped up. 3 sacks in the NFC Championship game, 1 sack in the Super Bowl. Got a sack against Patrick Mahomes. That's something the Ravens are trying to do, is figure out how to sack Patrick Mahomes. Now, you can credit his sacks to the problem with the starters not playing tackles in either of those games, the lack of experience for both Kansas City and Green Bay. But, if you have 3 sacks in a game, and it was because he just absolutely dominated the tackle. So having somebody that can go in a big-time game and get production is something that the Ravens absolutely need. So that's where Shaq Barrett adds. But then the other thing is he's just a very solid pass rusher. The Ravens would be able to use him probably every down, but they could sub him in and out and everything like that. The only other pass rusher that I believe I'm yet to talk about, I've talked about Von Miller, I've talked about Josh Allen. There's kind of one other guy that's a big name. There's other players such as Carlos Dunlap and such, Carl Lawson. But the only other player is Hassan Reddick, who also wasn't re-signed. So I'll probably have a video about him as well. But Shaq Barrett would be able to come into the Ravens, and yes, he would make a lot of money. Do the Ravens want to spend that type of money? Probably not. I don't expect Eric DeCosta to want, to spend $19.5 million, but I think that the Ravens could really do well with a 1-year, maybe 2-year type of deal. So that way, when Lamar Jackson gets his major extension, he's off the books. He's about 27, 28 years old. So once he hits, 30, they could kind of let him go based on what the Ravens end up doing in terms of cuts and everything like that, which I will have a video out, part of our podcast that we're recording tonight. Will be out in the next few days, talking about cuts and everything like that. But you look at what the Ravens should do. They need edge rushers. And I think I've talked about it plenty of times. Yannick, Judon, not the guys that are going to be able to bring that. Shaq Barrett has proven that he can do it. And he's not coming off of an injury like a Von Miller. He's not coming off of something where, he was 100% scheme. It's like, no, he was the sole scheme in 2019. And then he was part of a group, a collective that ended up being a premier pass defense in the NFL, which was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And he was the one leading that front. Having that type of experience would allow something that the Ravens haven't had since they had Terrell Suggs, which is a player that commands double teams. I talked about it in the Von Miller video, but a player that commands double teams helps out your defense so much more than a casual football fan could ever expect, because being double teamed seemed like it hurts that player. Yes, it does. If he gets double teamed on the Ravens, which he would be, he would absolutely struggle to get 10 plus sacks. However, who would be able to get sacks? The other guys. Sack Daddy. You could look at Calais Campbell. You could look at Tyus Bowser. Those guys will be able to get the sacks, because if he commands a double team, if Shaq Barrett commands a double team, then that would allow all the other players to be in consistent one-on-ones, which they can win. The problem with the Ravens these last 2 seasons is they haven't had a player that has commanded a double team. So anytime it looks like the Ravens aren't going to blitz, they look at where their weakest spot in the offensive line is, and they said, let's double the player over there, whether it's Calais, whether it's Judon, and neither of those guys can beat double teams, or at least beat double teams at a rate that is better than horrible, because they almost never will beat a double team. I believe Calais did it against the Eagles, but the Eagles have a horrendous offensive line. So, that's not something to hang your hat on, is beating the Eagles offensive line when they're all injured. So having Shaq Barrett would allow the defense to be able to, one, in 4-man pass rush, they would allow everybody else to be in a one-on-one, which is great. But also in terms of blitz packages. We all know Wink Martindale loves to send pressure. He is somebody who wants to make your quarterback confused on every single snap. But if you can also confuse the center so they don't know, oh, wait, do I go left and block the guy, in the A gap, or do I go do I go for Brandon Williams at the nose tackle and hope that nobody else comes in? That's the difficulty in playing in the offensive line and trying to figure out who to block with Wink Martindale. He'll put 8 guys up on the line of scrimmage. And if you have a guy like Shaq Barrett and you have 8 guys on the line of scrimmage, that right tackle, that left tackle, whichever side he's lined up on, is scared, because they're going to be in a one-on-one because they're expecting a blitz. They don't allow themselves to have extra help. So if you're able to, come out in those 7, 8-man fronts, all of a sudden, and you just drop, you don't have to blitz. You don't even have to blitz. Maybe you send 5 guys, but if you send 4, but you disguise that sending 4, boom, all of a sudden he's in a one-on-one. We all know what he can do when he's in a one-on-one. He can beat that guy, get around the edge, sack the quarterback, strip the quarterback. Boom, perfect. Game, set, match. Or if you do end up blitzing, you send 5 guys, he's in a one-on-one right there, boom. And you know that he can win. With Matthew Judon, when you send a blitz, yeah, he could win. There's like a 20% chance that he gets to gets a pressure and beats the one-on-one, which isn't very good. So having a guy like Shaq Barrett, who is able to come off the edge, command double teams and everything like that, would be invaluable to the Ravens. And I think that paying the amount of money, as long as it's a short-term deal, I wouldn't want some sort of 4-year, $80 million deal. I think that would be too much. I think it would be too long, because I want the Ravens to still draft edge rushers to try and develop them. For example, like what they did with Za'Darius Smith. Not so much with Matthew Judon, but, draft a guy, develop him, and if he ends up being a pivotal role piece in the 3rd, 4th year of his contract, that's the perfect ideal spot. So if you pay him for just 2 years, you can draft a guy maybe this year and all of a sudden try and develop him to be the replacement for the next years to come. Because once Lamar gets his money, it's going to be much more difficult for the Ravens to build a team around him. The money just completely shrinks when you have to pay that quarterback. And that's why so many quarterbacks that win, they win on that rookie deal. Look at Patrick Mahomes. He won on that rookie deal. And now it's going to get a lot more difficult. So we need Lamar to win on his rookie deal. So paying a short-term, 2-year, $40 million deal, I would absolutely love that for Shaq Barrett to come in and, really terrorize the AFC North, because that's what the Ravens have not been able to do against really any of the opposing teams, well, except for the Bengals. But I'm going to say it right now, I'm not worried about the Bengals. I'm trying to get pressures on the Steelers, and I'm trying to get pressures on Baker Mayfield, who both have extremely good offensive line play. So having an edge rusher like a Shaq Barrett would be amazing to have. So let me know down in the comment section down below. Do you want Shaq Barrett? Do you think it would be a good signing? 2, your thoughts on kind of the free agent or the tagline deadline. You know, should the Ravens have tagged anybody? Who should they go after that wasn't tagged? Are you disappointed in A-Rob or Chris Godwin being tagged? Let me know down in the comments. If you like the video, hit the like button. And as always, subscribe to see daily Ravens content. Thank you all. See y'all again next time.